Since the start of the Premier League season, only Sheffield United have faced more shots than Manchester United. United are terrible from a defensive point of view, and one of the big areas they struggle with is transition defence, the ability to defend the opposition's counter-attacks. So what does this actually mean? Basically, when United have the ball and look to move the ball forward into advanced areas and then lose the ball, it's simply far too easy for the opposition to run forward and quickly attack the Manchester United goal. And this is because of poor rest defence from United. So, what is rest defence? Rest defence is essentially what the rest of the players are doing when you have the ball ready to defend. So let me just clarify that real quick. So let's say Garnacho, for example, has the ball on the left wing. What is the rest of the team doing? How are the rest of the players positioning themselves should United lose possession? So for example, if we were to see a shape where it's incredibly open, like this would be poor rest defence, because we can see if we were to lose the ball, the rest of the players are not in a good position, the opposition can transition quite easily. Something we've covered quite a lot this season. This is something I've spoken about time and time again. The rest defence has been absolutely horrendous all year long. Now, something I highlighted earlier in the season that was a problem was that United's shape initially was too open, and United were using a 2-3 shape at the time. So we would often see two centre-backs, we'd then see Kobbie Mainoo as an isolated 6, and then two pretty wide fullbacks. So this was the shape earlier in the season, and therefore when United lost possession, there was no players in this area apart from Kobbie Mainoo, too much ground to cover, it doesn't work, and United were therefore conceding a lot of chances. Now what I said at the time United should do is either drop another midfielder deeper, or they should invert the fullback, and United have done that. Scott McTominay has come out of the side, Casemiro has come into the team, Kobbie Mainoo's pushed a little bit higher, but Dalot has inverted from right back, and United have built possession in a 3-2 shape. Now, on paper, this is a step in the right direction to a better rest defence shape, because now when we lose the ball, we've got three centre-backs who should be, on paper, fairly close to each other, but also two players in this phase here. So rather than one midfielder having to cover the whole pitch, we've now got two. So United have taken a step in the right direction towards solving the rest defence. So it would be wrong to say that Ten Hag hasn't even tried to address the issue. For me, that's completely false. However, for some reason, United still concede chance after chance after chance after chance in defensive transitions. So the question is, why is that? United have improved, on paper, the structure. So why are they still conceding so many chances on the counter-attack in transitions from the opposition? Well, it is because of spacing, but also intent from individual players. So once again, this is a Ten Hag issue, but also an issue with the players. Now to really summarise this and capture this properly, I want to compare United to Arsenal. For me, United are the worst team in the league for their rest defence, whereas Arsenal are the very best, probably in the world, in my opinion. They're very good at it. So I want to compare the two. And we're going to start off by looking at Arsenal. So what we've got here is Arsenal building possession in a 3-2 shape. So they've got a back three, a couple of those players just off screen, but they are there. And then they've got a double pivot in midfield. Now what Arsenal are going to do is move the ball forward. You know, as you would expect, they're trying to attack the opposition. And as they move the ball forward, they are now attacking the opposition in a front five. So they've got the three at the back, then a two in midfield, and are now attacking with a front five. If we compare that to the current United shape, it's not too dissimilar. A back three, then a double pivot, and then a front five to overload the opposition's defence. So initially, again, the idea is okay. However, it's all about the execution and the personnel, but also the tactical approach. Because what happens is Arsenal gradually move the ball forward, and they have still got this base of two players in the midfield. Very, very important. Because eventually, you are going to lose the ball. It happens here. Jorginho tries to put a ball into the box, and possession is lost. However, what we can see is that as possession is lost and the second ball comes back out, Arsenal still have two players here. Very, very important. But what's also important is where they are. Not only are they centralised, not only are they close to each other, they're very high up the pitch. Very, very high up the pitch. They are close to the opposition's box. So as the ball comes out from Newcastle, they clear the ball. These two Arsenal players are there immediately. Immediately, meaning that they can quickly put pressure on the ball. And we're going to see it. The ball comes up, Jorginho goes for the challenge in the air, but important things are happening at the same time. First of all, the two wingers, Saka and Martinelli, have noticed that Arsenal have lost the ball. So therefore, naturally, they are walking back to a more centralised position. Rather than being out wide, where they're not much used defensively, they are moving more central, so they might have a chance of getting on a second ball or something like that. But the more important thing is actually what is going on behind all of the Arsenal players, and that is the defenders here. So we've got Gabriel, the centre-back, and then also the left-back as well. They are both also extremely high. Count the Arsenal players on screen here. There is a lot of Arsenal players very, very high up the pitch. So not only are they using this 3-2-5 shape, but they are close to each other. So when they lose possession, they can go and challenge 40-second balls, and we see it several times on this particular scenario. So Jorginho goes up for the first header. I believe the ball goes into the box, it then gets cleared. But once again, we've got the two players are in midfield. Ben White, the right back, inverting. But look how high Gabriel is. He's ready to challenge. He is ready to pounce forward and try and win the ball back. And this is Arsenal, the whole team, moving forward with each other. We can still see the left back on screen as well. Now, once again, Jorginho goes up for the header. And eventually, it's a little bit scrappy, but Arsenal win the ball back. And the reason they were able to win the ball back so quickly was because they had a back three who were ready to be aggressive, front-footed, move towards the ball, but they also had two players in the second phase, in the midfield. On this occasion, Jorginho and Ben White, who were both ready to fight and try and win the second ball back, but they were helped by the fact that their midfield squeezed behind them. So if we quickly go back to the tactical board, and just ignore the actual personnel on screen for this one, but basically, as Arsenal lose the ball in the final third somewhere, in this sort of position, they have the players high to win the ball back. If, for example, their centre-backs were incredibly deep, it would make the Arsenal midfielders question whether they can go press or not. Because if they do press, they're leaving a lot of space in here, but if they don't press, they're leaving a lot of space in here, it makes it confusing. Whereas Arsenal don't really have that problem. The back three squeeze incredibly high up the pitch, which allows the midfielders to do the same. They are all able to defend on the front foot, particularly these two wider players in the back three, whilst the middle one, Saliba, is a bit more conservative, a bit more of a covering defender. But the important thing is the whole team is moving in the same direction towards the ball. They're looking to win the ball back nice and high up the pitch, and it continues in this move. So Arsenal keep the ball here, they cycle it out wide, and eventually look to attack again and move forward once again. Now on this occasion, it looks like potentially they've committed too many players forward, because what we can see is that Ben White has now decided to throw himself around on the overlap. We've got Odegaard in a high advanced position, but also Declan Rice as well, who we would perhaps associate with being a deeper player. He has thrown himself forward to join the attack as well. So surely, as Arsenal lose the ball, they're going to have a problem, because they're not going to have the players in central areas to win the ball back, right? But that's not the case, because Arsenal are very intelligent, they're coached with patterns, and as Odegaard puts his ball into the box, he's then going to realise, hang on, if we lose this ball, I need to be one of the double pivot. So as this ball comes into the box, it gets cleared, but watch Odegaard. Odegaard is going to move himself back into a midfield position alongside Jorginho. Quickly, he makes the effort to get himself back into a 2 in the midfield. So it's not Ben White on this occasion, it is now Odegaard taking up this position. So that is intelligent play initially. But if we look what's going on behind them also, the Arsenal players are there. Once again, we've got a centre-back here coming in to engage in a duel. We've got the left-back up here. The Arsenal players are high. The Arsenal players are incredibly high, looking to engage nice and high up the pitch, win the ball back. And this essentially has the effect of completely suffocating Newcastle. Because every time Newcastle try and clear the ball or put a transition together, the Arsenal players are all moving towards the ball, quickly putting a pressure on the ball, and it literally just stops the opposition from getting out. And we can see Arsenal have done it the whole time in a 3-2 shape. The other thing which I think is important though, as we kind of touched upon there, is the intelligence of the players and the recognising different patterns which are happening. So we've got another example here. Arsenal are in a front 5 once again, and Odegaard is part of that front 5, with Bukayo Saka wide on the right hand side with the ball at his feet. Now Arsenal move the ball forward, and eventually it goes back to Martin Odegaard in the midfield. Now what happens at this moment is Ben White, from a deeper position, makes a run forward. So Ben White, again, typically is part of Arsenal's rest defence structure, the deeper players, but on this occasion he makes the run forward into what we would kind of assume is an Odegaard position. So Odegaard's got the ball, and eventually he moves the ball forward. He moves the ball forward across the pitch to Jorginho, and then makes the run off the ball. Naturally, he now wants to attack this space here. However, what he does is he gets his head up and actually realises, hang on, Ben White is now in that position. If Ben White is there, that means we're one player short at the back. So actually, I don't need to bomb forward. What he does is he stops himself. He goes, nope, hang on, I don't need to run forward in this position because we need to make sure that we keep our 3-2 shape. So Arsenal are still attacking with a front 5, but they've still got this 2 in the midfield and then the 3 behind them. So those are some of the key factors there for Arsenal. What they are doing is they are playing in a 3-2-5 shape, but the players are aware that they need to occupy the zones, which is very important, and then defensively, when they lose the ball, quickly aggressive on the front foot, looking to win the ball back as high as possible. So before we continue into the video, a quick shout out to today's video sponsor, JerseyFifa.com, the home of all of the greatest football kits. Whether that be the new latest releases or the old classic ones like this, Jersey FIFA has something for everyone, and now you can check it out yourself using the link in the description down below. And also make sure to use code JerseyFIFA for 10% off when you order. Now what I want to do is compare this to Manchester United against Fulham. So this has happened over the same weekend. okay? And you would argue United are playing against weaker opposition. Fulham probably aren't as good as Newcastle. So, let's go through it. Initially, it looks okay. United are building possession in a 3-2 shape. We've got the back three, the 2 players in the midfield. So should United lose the ball, there is 5 players there ready to try and win the ball back. That is a good sign. That is an improvement on what we saw in the opening stages of the season. This is much better. And of course, naturally, United eventually move the ball forward. This is actually a really nice move. Forson has the ball out wide. He plays it into Dalot. Forson then makes the move, receives it back from Dalot, and then plays the ball forward to Casemiro. And eventually, the ball falls all the way back to Forson, and we can see United still are in an okay shape. Front 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 across the front line. But also we've got Casemiro and Kobbie Mainoo in the double pivot. And we can see Lindelof here from left back moving forward to join them. So, again, it's not too bad at this point. Ideally, I would like Kobbie Mainoo to be a little bit further up to the left. I would like him to be, more like in this sort of position here, ready to get on the second ball. So it's not ideal. So it's not great, but United in an okay position. What happens is they lose the ball. That's fine. It's completely fine to lose the ball. You play high risk, high reward football. You've got to try things in the final third. You've got to try create chances. You're going to lose the ball sometimes. What's important is where your players are. Are they ready to lose the ball? If we now look at the United shape as this player plays out from the back for Fulham, look how much space they have. So this is where, again, I would have liked perhaps Kobbie Mainoo to be a little bit higher. Did Bruno Fernandes go too high too early? Possibly. But the problem is, these deeper United players, they can't go connect to the press. That's the problem. Now, what were we seeing for Arsenal? When they lost a ball in these areas, Jorginho was right there going after them. Ben White in a double pivot, Odegaard at times as well. They were quickly able to go squeeze the play towards Fulham. And the reason they were able to do that was because they had those 3 defenders behind them, joining them in the press. Whereas, what happens with Manchester United, if we go back to the tactical board real quick, is as United lose the ball up in this area here, our midfielders are around here, which isn't horrendous, but our defence quickly drop off. Now, what this does is it puts questions in our midfielders' heads. Do they drop off and cover this bit of space here? But if they do, then we leave lots of space for Fulham in this area. Or do we quickly go and try and counter-press, win the ball back high? Excuse the voice crack there. But now Fulham can get in behind our midfield because our defence has dropped so deep. This is complete opposite to what Arsenal do. Arsenal all move in the same direction. All in the same direction. They anticipate the play. United, some are going forwards, some are running backwards, and then you've got those in the middle who are completely caught out. And honestly, I feel really sorry for them. Really sorry for them. I've criticised Casemiro this season, but he's got a hard job. A really hard job in there. And this is what happens on this particular move. Fulham play out from the back. They've got this massive space here. Players high, players caught in between. And then, most importantly, the ball's going to be carried forward. And then basically, they just hook a ball long. Now, it shouldn't seem like an issue because United have 2 players here. We look in an okay position. But actually, as this ball goes long, we realise just how deep our centre-backs are. Again, think back to what we were looking at with Arsenal just a minute ago, how high up the pitch they were. Look how deep our centre-backs are compared to the rest of the team. Again, if we're talking about a team operating as a unit, moving towards the ball together or away from the ball together, pressing high or dropping off, do it together, whatever one you want to do. Not some of the team step forwards to engage in a counter-press. Some drop off nearly on the edge of our penalty area. If we actually look at the first United contact on this ball, look how deep it is. It's right on the edge of our box. And because our midfield is so high, as Fulham win this header, look at the amount of space in behind the Manchester United midfield. There is so much space. So much space. And this is because the team is not moving together. Some are going forward, some are going back, some are in between. It leads to massive, massive, massive gaps. Massive gaps. So this is something which Erik ten Hag simply has to change. It's unacceptable. It's unforgivable. This is amateur tactically, that word English. Tactically, this is amateur. It's amateur football. The team has got to go in the same direction as each other. You can't press with 1 or 2 players and have 1 or 2 players drop to the edge of your own penalty area. It simply doesn't work. It doesn't work. Now, United also aren't helped by the fact that they play the ball forward so quickly. When we look at Arsenal, again, they're quite measured in their approach. They play quite safe football initially. They're looking to control the space. They're looking to control the ball, control the space, which means they move forward slowly, which, gives the centre-backs time to get up with the midfielders. It allows them to get into their positions because they're controlling the space. United take a different approach. Rather than controlling the space, they constantly look to attack the space. So when they get the ball, it's not about can we control it, it's about can we quickly attack. That means, for one, it's difficult for the centre-backs to join the rest of the team because they've got to sprint 30 yards just to try and keep up with play. So that is one issue for United. The play is far too risky. We see it again in a situation like this, just how risky and how vertical and how forward-minded this United side is. So again, we're building possession with a back three, Eriksen's here, and Dalot and Kobbie Mainoo are just now rotating, which is absolutely fine because as it plays out, we can see United have a back three, but they also have the double pivot in midfield, so I don't mind this. The ball goes wide to Bruno Fernandes. Bruno Fernandes tries this weird forward ball. Now at some point, a player has got to show a little bit of intelligence and a little bit of awareness. The chances of this ball coming off over the top of the defence are quite unlikely. So what you've got to assess in this situation is it worth the risk? Should I just be keeping possession for my side? And ultimately the answer is yes. Because what we can see is unless this ball is perfect from Bruno Fernandes, if Fulham win the header, they have 3 players in this area here, pretty much unchallenged from United. Because again, the midfield haven't squeezed up, because the defence haven't squeezed up, but also because Bruno Fernandes has just made a crazy decision. I don't understand why he's trying to play this ball on this occasion. Just keep the ball for your side. Control the space rather than always looking to attack it. But instead what happens is the ball goes forward, Fulham intercept the pass, and look how much time and space this player has. So much time and space. It is absolutely ridiculous. He's able to get the ball down. Kobbie Mainoo and Eriksen are now caught out because, again, their defence is deep, their forwards are high, they don't know whether to pounce or sit off. They get caught in between. We can see Lindelof is high, not in a bad position at all. But as this ball comes through, the centre-backs, again, are nowhere to be seen. Nowhere to be seen. Kobbie Mainoo and Eriksen are beaten a little bit too easily. I don't like their defensive work on this occasion, but we know they're not defensive-minded midfielders. It's not what they want to do. But Eriksen, in particular, beaten far too easily. And again, Fulham now have so much space to attack. Look how deep our centre-backs are. Their first thought is get back towards my own goal, whereas the rest of the team are trying to step forward. And again, there's those in-between players. I don't want to keep repeating myself, but it's so important. Now look how much room Andreas Pereira has to carry the ball in. Look how far he carries it. So he's going to carry it to the edge of the centre circle. He gets there and he realises, okay, I can carry it a couple more yards. Oh wait, I can carry it a couple more yards. Oh, hang on, I can keep carrying this ball. And he hasn't been challenged yet. Now finally, he gets into the final third. He plays a poor ball. I believe it goes out for a goal kick on this occasion. So, you know, most fans are going to look at this and say it led to a goal kick. So actually, we defended the situation quite well. We saw it after the Luton game. Luton had around 20 shots, but a lot of people went the XG was low. We forced them to low likelihood scoring chances, you know, low value chances. But what you've got to look at is not only the chances which the opposition create in these games, but the opportunities, where they get into really good positions but miss that final ball. So they don't get the shot off, so the stats don't pick it up. You've got to watch the game. This is so easy for Fulham to move the ball forward all the way through the pitch. And then once again, it is because of absolutely terrible rest defence. Now again, United aren't helped by the profiles. If we're making that comparison to Arsenal, Casemiro can't cover the ground like Declan Rice can. He just can't. Maguire, our middle centre-back, can't cover the ground like Saliba, Arsenal's middle centre-back, can. Saliba's sometimes wide as well, but you get the picture there. The profiles are also a problem, and it's something which perhaps can only be properly addressed in the summer with transfers and recruitment. But also, at the same time, this structure is just horrendous. The spacing of players is pathetic. It is amateur. It genuinely is. The gaps are insane. Insane, and that is a coaching issue. That is a manager issue. And that is why Manchester United's defence is so bad. It's why the rest defence is awful, and why United are terrible at defending transitions. Combine that with the fact that we are a transitioning team ourselves, which invite end-to-end football matches, you can see the problems. You can see why United are struggling so much this season. Erik ten Hag has to change something. He simply has to. Let me know what you think he can change in the comments down below. What is the approach? Is it to be slower in possession, to give our team more time to get forward, to control the ball more so we face less transitioning opportunities? Is it to squeeze those defenders up? Is it to drop the team all off backwards? Let me know what you think in the comments down below. But apart from that, we are finished for today. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you have enjoyed it. And as always, I'll see you in the next one.